Have you ever just stopped and wondered, why do I love the way I do? Why is it that some of us just crave closeness while other people seem to need tons of space? Well, today, we're going to dive into the hidden blueprint that pretty much shapes our entire romantic lives.
Does this sound at all familiar to you? Things are going great, you're really connecting with someone, and then, bam. The second they get a little too close, you feel this massive, overwhelming urge to just pull back.
Or maybe you're on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You're living with this constant, low-level anxiety that your partner is going to leave, and you find yourself needing a lot of reassurance just to feel safe and loved in the relationship. Look, whatever the specific pattern is, it can feel like you're completely stuck in a loop, right? Just repeating the same painful story over and over again, just with different people. Well, it turns out the answer isn't really about who you're dating. It's about how you first learned what love even was. Yeah, the key to unlocking these modern dating puzzles isn't hiding in your last few relationships. We've actually got to go way deeper, all the way back to your very first, most important relationship of all. And the person who really gave us the map for all of this was a British psychologist named John Bowlby. He came up with this absolutely revolutionary theory that explains how our very first relationship becomes the blueprint, the template, for every single one that comes after. And the core idea is, honestly, simple but so powerful. Bowlby figured out that the way our parents or caregivers responded to us when we were infants, whether they were warm and available or distant or just totally unpredictable, that experience literally etched a pattern into our brains. And that template, that blueprint, then unconsciously guides how we look for connection, how we trust, and how we handle intimacy for the rest of our lives. Okay, so how does this template actually get built? Well, it all comes down to one central idea that Bowlby called the secure base. And to really get it, let's use a pretty simple analogy: the anchor and the ship. So a secure base is basically that person who is our emotional anchor. When we're kids, it's that caregiver we know deep down we can always come back to. They're a reliable source of comfort and safety. And that feeling is what gives us the confidence to go out and, deal with the world. Just picture a ship for a second. Its anchor connects it to a safe harbor, a place where it can rest, refuel, and just weather any storm that comes its way. That safe harbor, that is the secure base. And this right here is the most important part. A secure base isn't about holding you back or creating dependence. It's the exact opposite. It's about empowering you. Knowing you have that safe harbor to come back to is what gives you the courage to sail out into the big, unknown ocean of life. It builds independence, it builds resilience, and it builds curiosity. So depending on what kind of secure base we had growing up, we tend to develop one of three main blueprints for connection in our adult lives. Now, as we go through them, I want you to just see if you recognize yourself, or hey, maybe some of the people you've dated. All right, first up, we have the anxious blueprint. On the inside, this person is terrified of abandonment. It's their biggest fear. They crave really deep intimacy, but at the same time, they're constantly worried that their partner doesn't feel the same way. And this inner conflict, it often shows up as behaviors like needing constant reassurance, being super sensitive to any tiny shift in a partner's mood, and yeah, sometimes being called needy or clingy. So where on earth does this come from? Well, this blueprint often gets wired in when a caregiver was inconsistent. Sometimes they were warm and loving and right there for you, and other times they were distant or distracted. So as a kid, you learn that to get your needs met, you have to turn up the volume, you have to protest and cling just to make sure that connection stays there. Next up, we have the avoidant blueprint. This person values their independence and self-sufficiency more than anything. They often feel totally suffocated by too much closeness and are really uncomfortable with being emotionally vulnerable. So on the outside, they can seem emotionally distant, they might downplay how important relationships are, and they'll definitely pull away if a partner tries to get too close too fast. And the origin story here is pretty different. This style tends to develop when a caregiver was just consistently unavailable or maybe even dismissive of a child's needs for comfort. The child learns a really painful but powerful lesson. Reaching out for closeness just leads to rejection. The only person I can truly rely on is me. And finally, we have the secure blueprint. This is the template that's formed from having that consistent, reliable, secure base we talked about. A person with a secure blueprint is comfortable with intimacy, and they're also comfortable with independence. They can balance both.
They trust their partner is there for them, they can communicate their needs openly, and they genuinely see relationships as a source of comfort, not a source of stress. This style is really forged in consistency. When the child cried, they were comforted. When they were scared, they were protected. They learned a fundamental truth deep in their bones. Connection is safe, and I am worthy of love and care.
This quote is so powerful, Bowlby actually included it in his own work. We are remolded by those who have loved us. We are still their works, for better or for worse. It really just sums it all up, doesn't it? Our first connections shape us in these profound ways. We carry those echoes with us. So the real question is, what do we do now that we know this?
Because understanding your blueprint isn't about placing blame, and it is definitely not a life sentence. It's really about finally understanding your own story, so you can consciously decide how you want to write the next chapter. And this right here might be the most important takeaway of all. I'll say it again. Your attachment style is not a life sentence. It is not some fixed, unchangeable part of your personality. Instead, try to see your attachment style for what it really is, a story of how you adapted. It was actually a brilliant, creative strategy you came up with as a little kid to survive and get your needs met in whatever environment you were in. Anxious and avoidant patterns aren't flaws. They are survival skills that maybe just aren't serving you anymore. And the beautiful thing about a story is that it can change. By understanding your old patterns, you get the power to create new ones. Through self-awareness, through healthier relationships, and sometimes through therapy, you can build what psychologists call earned security. You can consciously build the safe harbor for yourself that maybe you didn't get as a kid. So the real question isn't what story you were given, it's what story you're going to choose to write now.